Welcome to another Valheim build tutorial video. Before I get too far, I just wanted to say thank you for your comments on the last one. I do know the last build was simple, but I also have these builds following my Let's Play. So as we go in the Let's Play, the builds will get more complicated, but I don't show me building in the Let's Play, so instead I put them in these videos. And still, thank you for the comments. I appreciate it. I appreciate if you would like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video today. Let's get into it. It will be our Black Forest Forge video. And as always, we're going to start with the resources required. Keep in mind these resources don't include any of the furniture put inside the building at the end. This is only what's required to make the basic outline of the building. And that is going to be 405 wood, 664 core wood, 55 stone, and 10 Surtling cores. The first step is going to be pretty simple. It is going to be making a 11 by 6 wood floor foundation. Then, counting 6 from one of the front corners, we're going to remove a line of 4 wood floor segments. For this next bit, we're going to start by simply digging down in this area. We're just going to use our pickaxe to hit a couple of times here, and then we'll switch into our hoe, in which we'll level the ground a little bit just to keep everything down. All nice and easy. Now we're going to switch to our 4-meter log beam, the horizontal. We're going to do snapping top 2. We're going to put those at each of the corners. Then we're going to use the 1x1 wood floor to evenly space our wood beams apart from each other here. Keeping on snapping top 2. We can get rid of our 1x1 wood floor, and then we go back to auto snapping, and we're going to hold shift. We're going to very carefully place this so that's in the middle of the other beam. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here, get a better look at it so I can be more lined up. Place the other one. Then it's just a matter of placing all these on end to end like so, and we have a nice design on our floor. Now what we can do with this is we can grab our hoe again, flatten this beginning to kind of make it nice and even with the beginning, make it nice and easy to walk on. Move on to the next step. For our next step, we're going to start to build our walls. To do this, we're going to use our 4-meter log poles to surround the outside of our foundation, leaving a space at the entrance. And then filling in the back space with our 2-meter log beams. Next up, we're going to make 2x2 holes in the floor. The one on the left will be one space closer than the one on the right. Now, smelters and kilns need to be placed on dirt. So we got our dirt area there. We're going to want to make sure we're zoomed in so that we can kind of see where we're placing it very well. And as you can see, every time I try and place it up onto the wood, it gets all red. It means you can't place it. Bring it as close to the edge as we can. Place that. And then we're going to turn around and we're going to do the same for the kiln. We're going to have that selected. Make sure it's facing the proper way. And we're going to pull it forward. Try and actually place it as center as we can within our 2x2 hole here. That's the placement of our smelter and kiln. Now we're still going to have to take care of the dirt areas that you can see around the smelter and the kiln. So what we're going to want to do now is we're going to start with the kiln side. We're just going to take these 1x1 wood floors and we're going to snap to a corner until we can see that we can place them right there in the dirt floor. The reason we don't use the whole wood floors, the 2x2 floors, is because they will go in the area where the smelter actually cooks. And that kind of looks just off. We're going to get those filled in. Might have to mess around with the snapping to get it in the right spot. And then for now, what we're going to do is we're just going to take the normal wood floors, the 2x2s. We're just going to snap them into place underneath our forge for now, our smelter. Then we have them all nice and covered. And here's where we're going to start setting up the wood look of our smelter and kiln. What we're going to want to do here is we're going to probably start on the kiln side. We're going to use the 2-meter log beams. And we're gonna get in place right about there where they're kind of towards the end that ends at the output there. And we're gonna place them, stack them about 7 tall. You might have to use some snapping to get them to stack while you're standing here. Then we're just going to build this in a shape around the kiln. Might take a second, and usually I just keep it on either snapping the back or snapping the bottom or auto, and I can just either look at the previous log or look down at the other logs to place them. You can do this pretty quick once you got stuff set up. Just a simple turn, rotate. And once we get to the front, you're going to leave the last bottom 2 log beams empty. That's going to be where the input and output of the kiln is. You can see there, you can easily access it even while looking at it. Then we're just going to add a little extra design on top. What we'll do here is we'll grab our wood ladder. Let's just jump up to the top of it. Sometimes wood ladders can be a little bit odd. You go back to our 2-meter beams and just kind of place each of these at each of the corners, facing them towards the hole that's at the center of the kiln there, where the smoke comes out. And that'll finish up our kiln side of things. Now that we've got the kiln side done, we're going to begin on the smelter side, which is going to be a little bit more complicated. So what we're going to do is the first thing we're going to do is go to the back of our smelter. We're going to go ahead and take out these 2 blocks that we placed here earlier. Instead, we're going to have the floor 1x1s. We're going to put those along the outer edge there. This will make the next part easier, the snapping with our 2-meter log beams. We can now snap them a little bit better into each other to make it more of a 3-meter beam instead, looking thing along the sides. Do it on both sides, just point down at the log. And we just go around the bottom of our smelter with this. Then we're going to switch to our log poles. We're just going to snap them here to the bottom of the corners. Now, something that can happen is if you're not paying attention, you can actually place these inside the corner and they'll be lower than the other poles. Just be paying attention where the log is snapping. Then we can snap them onto these points here on the side where the openings for the inputs for both the ore and the coal is. And now we're just going to very carefully on each of these openings, we're going to place our logs and try and line them up the best we can. You might have to destroy and put the logs down a couple times to get them lined up if this is the first time you've been doing this. But otherwise, it's not too hard. Aim kind of towards the center of the horizontal log beam. Get it pretty well lined up. Now for the back, we're going to do something a little bit different. Kind of looking in, we're going to place these 1x1 wood floors. And we're going to use these wood floors to be able to snap some more log poles into space. Just get rid of wood floors after we're done. Then we're just going to fill in the gaps just like we did on the sides. Nice and easy. Everything beginning to line up pretty well. Okay, our back's done. Now we're going to do sort of the same thing for the front. We're going to grab our 1x1 wood floors. We're going to place them so that they're lined up at the corners. Place a couple of logs. Get rid of the 1x1 wood floors. We're going to fill in these gaps. I kind of make sure I check every log after I place it, just to make sure I have the gaps pretty well filled. And now what I'm going to do is, you'll notice when I try to place a log here, the output actually pushes the logs out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to where I am looking at the log instead of at the bottom log beam, and trying to place it in the middle of that. You want to be on auto snap for this, and that will be explained a little bit later. Now we got this, and we've got these big open areas still along all the inputs and the outputs, and I kind of want to cover above. So once again, I just kind of try and hit shift so that you don't snap it, and then you're going to place it right along the log at the top. You're going to do it again on the other side. These logs will overlap a little bit more than the others, and that's okay. Now what you notice here is when I place these logs, they kind of stick out a lot. And it's not giving me the look I really want. Try placing both of them. They're kind of a pain to place. So what you need to do is switch to bottom snapping. And then you're able to look down lower towards the output and place them where they're more lined up with the logs above it. Now, that's what I said earlier about auto snapping. You'll notice when I'm placing these logs, or as I'm placing these logs along the above the inputs for the coal, that when you use bottom snapping to, and even hitting shift, the logs go into the logs you're placing them into. So what you want to do is you're going to want to switch to auto snap. And this keeps the logs out. You just hold shift and you line them up. And these logs will also overlap quite a bit, but that's okay. It just looks like it ends up looking like a little bit wider log beam. Place those two above that. We do the same on the ore side. Try and center them up along there. And now looking at everything, make sure everything's good. We're going to go ahead and add another layer along 3 sides here, just to kind of close up these gaps along the side more. A little bit more idea of stacking along here. We're not going to do this on the front, because if we do this to the front, it'll actually block the output of the smelter. And that is our smelter all covered up in wood. So now that we have both our kiln and smelter done, we have one more thing to add to the smelter side of things. What we're going to want to do is we're going to want to get the 1x1 wood walls and place them in front here at the cross section. Then use our wood half wall to sort of get that closed off, and now make our little output there for our smelter. With that done, we're going to begin building the outside walls. We're going to use our regular wood walls to make a one layer around the entirety of our building, except for the back end, the same spacing as our entrance. Next, we're going to be placing our roof support structure. We'll use 2 4-meter long wood beams stacked on top of each other at the entrance. Then along the sides, we'll have 3 45-degree log beams, switching into 4 26-degree log beams placed. We then repeat the structure at the rear of the building. Then for the inner roof supports, we will not have the vertical log beams that support the center. Next, we cover the gaps between each of our roof supports with the 25-degree thatch roofs and the 45-degree thatch roofs where applicable. And this will be done for the opposite side as well. Next, we fill in the center spine of our roof with the 25-degree thatch roofs. Now we want to fill in the slight gap as it reaches the spine of the roof there. You can do this 2 ways. You can snap the top, which will work fine. You cannot snap the bottom, as that will not work for what we want to do, but you can also auto snap. You just want to place these so that the 26-degree log beam goes up just to the spine of the roof there. Then you can also do it on the other side. Be careful where you stand, as you won't be able to place the log beam. And now we're going to want to do the edges of the roof, which are a little bit more involved. What you're going to want to do once you get to the edge, we're going to snap to the bottom on one side or the other. And what you're going to notice is it's not going to really let you snap to this other piece. The game here does not like this intersection. So instead what we're going to do is we're going to try and just place this by looking kind of at this thatch roof part as lined up as we can with the top and get that nice cross section there. Then we can do the same thing on the other side. Sometimes this could take a bit, as this game really does not like when you cross pieces. If you're finding you're always above the other piece, you're going to want to look at the edge of the roof. Take your time, line it up. And there we go. Now we're going to move on to starting to fill in the spaces here that we have left. Now the roof is pretty much done. We're going to use the regular wood walls to fill in as best as we can on both the front and the back. Now our next part, we're going to have to manually place some more objects. We're going to take our 45-degree log beam. We're going to try to line it up with this log beam here as best we can. Kind of follow the colored object above it. And then we're going to use snapping top and bottom to get things snapped along. Same with our log beam that is 26 degrees. We're going to go straight up. And the nice thing about this lower support here is we can have it cross through the other beam pretty easily. Now this will be the same thing we do for the other side. And here's what the finished product looks like. We can do that in both the front and the back. For the next step, we're going to use a combination of half walls and the 1x1 half walls to fill in the remaining spaces in both the front and the back. Now for the next step, we're going to use a combination of angled corewood beams and of course vertical corewood beams to kind of make a design on the front, and then copying that design and putting it on the back. Also keep in mind the log beam design you use does not have to match every time you do it. You can have different ones as shown on the building we have here. Finally, finishing up the outside, we have our cross beam design in the back. We're going to want to use the 45-degree wood roof crosses. We're going to place some along the bottom here, and then we're going to snap to the bottom. That's what you're going to want to do. Snap at the top, snap at the center doesn't work. Snap at the bottom will work. You just aim kind of at the ends of each cross. Get them all nice and up here. One final one placed at the top. And then those little extra holes there, we're going to get a 45 wood beam. Then we just aim it at the end there. Try to make sure it doesn't aim so far up that it goes through the roof. And now the back is completed. Now with the entirety of our outside structure completed, we're going to go ahead and go inside to make just a few changes. To add some atmosphere, we're going to place a few fires. These are just all for cosmetic purposes, and they don't have to be placed necessarily in this way. They can place all along the wall or in a fashion like so. Something that didn't include in the cost of building this is you could add whatever you want to either side of the interior. You could add more storage or a workshop on either side. Then to add some atmosphere, we can add a little bit of lighting into the interior just to brighten things up a bit. And finally, to finish things off on the inside, you can just add the forge materials you need to complete our forge building. And now as we near the end of the video, I'd like to thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, leave a comment below. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.